Thank you for stopping by Living in the HOA today. In this video, we're going to be talking about one of the most important parts of an HOA, and that is the green infrastructure, and specifically trees like this. And that is what I refer to as green infrastructure, because it's the green part of the communities that nobody will live without. If there are no trees, if there's no green in the community, especially no vertical green, like this tree provides, people simply won't want to buy there. They won't want to purchase a home there. There's nothing attractive outside their home, the living environment in the home. So they want the green stuff in the community. And this is living stuff. This is living infrastructure. The materials are living. It's not like walls and sidewalks and streets that are just inert materials and dead materials. This is living stuff, and it has to be cared for in a specific way. And so that's what we'll be talking about. We'll be doing quite a few videos in the future about this. And how to care for it, how to cooperate with it as living infrastructure and that important part of our external environment. So we'll be talking about that. But today what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about how incredible trees are, how weird trees are. Actually, if you're not really familiar with how they operate and their structure, their anatomy, their processes, the benefits that they provide, the services they provide us, all of this, it can be kind of weird. It's amazing. And when I was a child, I started seeing this early on. I would get up in the morning at 4 in the morning and leave my house and go out and live in and walk in the forest with my dogs. I lived in the Appalachian Mountains, and I was just enthralled by the trees and everything that is out there, the water that went through the ground, and I would climb up in the trees. I was just amazed by them, and I have been that way my whole life. So that was 70 years ago, and I'm still the same. I feel the same way about these marvelous things that we call trees. They're not like other plants. They're not like the shrubs. They're not like this orange jubilee here. They're not like this torch bougainvillea. They're very different. Though they are woody plants, they are not like those plants. They have outcompeted them. They have evolved, and they are designed to be able to get the light and the water resources and the nutrients and the oxygen that they need for survival. And so they have developed themselves to outcompete these little plants and to stand above them, and to be able to put their leaves out there and be able to capture the light that they need to convert the nutrients, the carbon dioxide and water, into organic molecules that are called sugars and starches, and that is what they live on. That is their food. And so they have learned to do that, and they have evolved to do that. And so that's what I want to talk about a little bit, is the marvel of these trees and how they are formed to do that. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the 3 areas or 3 zones in a tree that we need to pay attention to and understand. The first zone is the root zone of trees, the root system, which is underground and we don't see it. And for most people, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. But the root systems are one of the most important parts of a tree. And we really need to pay attention to it. Though we can't see it, we can understand it. Researchers have found a lot of information, valuable information about root systems. Here I have one. I want you to look at this. This is, believe it or not, this is one root that has gone, that starts here and comes down here to this end and turns around and comes back down here. It turns around again at this point and goes this way and turns again and then comes back. This shows you how persistent roots are. They can actually be dangerous for other infrastructure, concrete and walls, block walls and sidewalks and streets. They can be dangerous for that because they're so powerful. So this is a powerful thing. Now this root is from an ironwood tree. I picked this up when I was out on an investigation project one time, and it just amazed me when I looked at this root and how it is structured and the many times that it has turned. You can see two places here where it turned. One right here and one right here. It turned and went back in the direction it came from here. So it's just incredible things, these roots. So I wanted to show that to you. I use that as an illustration when I teach about trees. And so I wanted to show that to you. I'll talk a little bit more about that at another time when we talk about root systems. But the roots are the way that trees get the nutrients that they need. They get the water from the soil. They get the oxygen that is in the soil. They have to have oxygen, just like every living thing, almost every living thing on the earth. Not all living things, but most living things need oxygen to break down these organic materials we call sugars and starches, to break it down into its components and then use it in building more cells and tissues. And they take in everything, all the nutrients through those roots. Now they get a couple of things through the leaves, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But for the most part, the roots are what supply all those materials that the trees need. And the root systems, I don't know if you know this, but the root systems of these trees are very extensive. They go far, as you can tell by that root that I showed you. They go far away from the tree. They go much farther than the crown. This is called the drip line, where water would, when it rains, would come out here and fall in this area. But the roots go much farther than that, 2 and 3 times the distance, the diameter of this crown in the tree, away from the tree in search of nutrients and water and oxygen. And that's what they do. It's just amazing how they do that, and how strong they are and how far they grow. And roots are ingenious, because they not only search on their own to get these things from the soil, but they form relationships, partnerships with other organisms to help them get more and more and more of these nutrients and oxygen and water. One in particular is called mycorrhizae. Mycorrhizae is mycor, which means fungus, and rhizae, which is roots. And so these are fungal roots that attach themselves to the tree roots and become not quite like parasites, but they're symbionts. They work together, and the fungal, I don't want to call them plants, they're not plants, but the fungal systems get something from the roots of the tree. The tree exchanges sugars and starches with these fungal systems in exchange for those systems bringing to the tree more water, more nutrients, more oxygen. All of these things are brought to the tree. And so this is a cooperative arrangement that they have. And so that's how the root systems work. It's a marvelous thing. It's a crazy thing. You would never know just by looking at a tree that it has these relationships down in the soil, and it works together with the fungus in the soil to be able to harvest more of the things it needs. We would never know that just by looking at a tree from above. So that's why we can't just rely on what we see above ground in order to manage trees properly and to take care of them and to appreciate them as well. The thing that has happened with me over the years is, hey, my experience in touching trees and walking among trees and climbing trees and working with trees later in life has given me a great appreciation for them. And we must appreciate them in order to value them. And so that's what I hope to do on this channel as well, is to help build an appreciation for trees, and with that appreciation, it'll help you value them and better manage them as well. Because the purpose of this channel, one of the purposes, is to help you, the viewers, become better stewards of these things, this green infrastructure. So hopefully this will help you do that. Now, second thing, the second zone I want to talk about is the trunk zone, which is the area that goes from the ground laterally up into what we call the crown. And this is a very specialized part of a tree, which is amazing as well. Just like the roots are amazing, this trunk is amazing because it's a conduit. It's where vascular tissues are. And a tree has a different kind of vascular system than people do. We have circulatory systems. They don't have circulatory systems. They don't just cycle water and nutrients around through them. They have directional systems up from the roots up to the branches and to the leaves. That is called xylem. That particular kind of vascular tissue is called xylem, and it goes up vertically up and takes it all. And then when the sugars are produced in these leaves and through photosynthesis, those sugars are sent back down through the trunk all the way down to the roots and the root tips, and even to that mycorrhiza we talked about. And that is called the phloem. And so you have two directional systems, one going up and one coming down. They both distribute what they carry, but they are two separate systems, two different layers of vascular tissue within that stem in that trunk that goes vertically from here. And so this is a very important system. You see on the outside, we have a corky layer on the outside called bark, and that is protective for the tree. And it protects the tree from predators, from animals that would want to eat the fleshy part of those vascular systems inside the plant, insects that would want to eat it, humans that would damage it. All of these things, this bark is very valuable. It's a shield that the tree has to protect itself. And so we'll talk about that also in the future. I think we'll probably have a specific video about the trunk and what the trunk does and the strength of it. As a matter of fact, one of the purposes of this trunk is not just to transmit and to pass nutrients and water and oxygen and all that through the vascular system, but it's also to give strength to this object, this tree, because this stuff up here is critical for the tree, and it's very heavy. These branches, if you just cut this tree down and tried to lift it, you'll discover how heavy this stuff actually is. So this vertical structure here that we call a trunk, in the center of it has a woody core or heartwood, and that woody core is what gives strength to the tree, and so it holds it up. That is what the tree marvelously evolved to do, is to get all this up higher above these other plants so it could take advantage of the sunshine and everything else that is in the atmosphere. So this trunk has multiple purposes, and we will talk about that in another video when we go into detail. Then the third zone that I want to talk about is the crown zone. This is where the leaves are. This is where branches are. I don't know if you can see inside here where these branches are coming off of the tree. They're large branches. They are larger at the end where they join the trunk than they are farther away. And that is a specific design that gives them strength so they can withstand wind and loads, the weight of these leaves. Water that falls out of the sky, it's very heavy when it hits these leaves and sits there. So the tree needs strength in order to do that. And in the branches are built very much like the trunk, that gets larger at the bottom and smaller at the top. And the branches get larger closer to the tree trunk and smaller as you get farther away. This is called a cantilever design. And it's much like a very large skyscraper. Buildings are built that way. Flagpoles are built that way. Bridges are built that way. So these are cantilever design, and it's a natural design. We didn't invent that. We just copied what we saw in nature. So this crown is, the purpose of this is like it's a scaffolding of branches that come off of the trunk, and they go out and they support leaves out at the very ends of those branches. There are the leaves. This is the end of the branch, and the branch, you see it here, it goes all the way back to the tree and connects to the tree. And the purpose of that is to be able to support these leaves out here so that they can be exposed to the sunlight, because the sunlight is critical. The sunlight is essential for creating these organic molecules we call sugars and starches. The leaves also exchange carbon dioxide. They take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. They've got little bitty pores in them. We'll talk about this also in the future. I want to explain how leaves work, and it's just an incredible thing. It's an amazing thing how these leaves work, and the tops of the leaves and the bottoms of the leaves, and how they exchange carbon dioxide and they release water. These are actually, they have little pores on the bottom of them called stomates or stomata that can release water, the water that's brought up from the roots, and release the part that is not used for photosynthesis to make sugars. They release that water, and it's like evaporator coolers. This is the largest evaporator cooler you will ever see, and that's one of the services, one of the values that trees have for us, is they lower the temperatures. And today in Phoenix, yesterday was 114 degrees, today is going to be about 111. So these trees are very valuable for helping suppress that temperature a bit and make these areas livable for us. So we'll be talking about these leaves and how all of this structure works together. It's a marvelous, weird thing. It has amazed me my entire life, and I hope it will do so for you. As we continue on through these series, we'll be talking about the HOAs, not only the administration of HOAs and how they work, but the responsibilities of HOAs for properly managing this and these trees in our neighborhood. Because unless we manage them properly, we simply won't have the value that they give us. So that's one of the things we'll be talking about as we go forward in the living in the HOA videos and all of the series. And I hope to be able to share my enthusiasm with you and to be able to transfer that enthusiasm to you. These are the most basic things that humans deal with. We have a lot of digital things that we do and societal things that we do and interactions, but these are the most basic things that we have always dealt with as humans, is the trees, the green infrastructure. And so we'll be talking about that. And I hope that was a little bit helpful for you to explain to you about the three zones: the root zone, the trunk zone, the crown. zone of a tree. But there's much more to it than that. Things that are not only interesting, but will help you manage trees in your community, in your common areas. If you're on the board, it'll help you do that. But also in the individual lots, on the private homeowners' lots, because the trees in the common areas, they don't know that they're in common areas. They just know they're there, that they're planted in the ground. And the ones that are on your property, your lot, your parcel, they don't know that they're different from the other trees in the common areas and in the retention basins and playgrounds and all of that, because they're not different. They are exactly the same, and they need the same care, and they provide the same services. So that's what we want to talk about as we go through this series. And I appreciate you coming by here today. I would like for you to comment on some of this. If you have questions about something, we can talk about many different species of trees and how they operate. They operate a little bit differently. So we can do that. Just leave your comments in the video below, and I'll be glad to answer your comments. So thanks so much for coming by, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.